Although mentioned in my Out to Launch segment in All Space Considered's August 2022 stream, I do want to go back to the beginning of the month to talk about August 4th, which was a record day for spaceflight. It bears repeating that August 4th, 2022 officially became the record holder for busiest day in the history of spaceflight, with not one or two or even three or four launches, but 5 orbital launches in a 20-hour period. And yes, Blue Origin did have a New Shepard flight, but that was suborbital, and I'm talking orbital launches here. China sent up 2 rockets that day, both from the Long March family of rockets, but both a different flavor. The first was a Long March 4B. This configuration uses a single core and 3 stages to deliver payloads, which successfully placed 2 Earth observation satellites into low Earth orbit, along with an educational smallsat from the Shanghai Academy of Spaceflight. The other rocket from China was a Long March 2F, a 2-stage rocket with 4 boosters, normally used for their launches of the crewed Shenzhou spacecraft. But this wasn't a Shenzhou. Back in 2020, for 2 days, a vehicle known as the Reusable Experimental Spacecraft was flown. Unofficial reports pin it to what's known as the Qianlong program, China's own efforts to develop a robotic spaceplane similar to the United States Space Force's X-37B. It launched again on August 4th, and so far has remained in orbit since. The remaining trifecta of launch vehicles came from the United States, but we begin this set of launches from New Zealand, with Rocket Lab's Electron lofting a mission for the United States National Reconnaissance Office, known as NROL 199. Although Rocket Lab's cheeky naming of missions continued, there's a bit less serious Antipodean adventure. Now, this was a classified launch, so the payload is unknown. We then jump back to the continental United States to the southern realms of Cape Canaveral in Florida for a United Launch Alliance Atlas V launching Spears GEO-6. This Atlas V was flown in the 421 configuration, meaning it used a 4-meter-sized payload fairing, 2 strap-on solid motors to help add some kick to the first stage, and a single-engine Centaur upper stage. Spears GEO-6 is, as a part of its designation implies, the 6th satellite in a series, specifically one that performs the task of missile detection from geosynchronous orbit. And rounding off our record day, a SpaceX Falcon 9, only 13 hours after the earlier launch at Cape Canaveral, lofted the first lunar mission for the Korean Aerospace Research Institute, a spacecraft named Danuri. Now, the official name is Korea Pathfinder Lunar Orbiter, and it's on a ballistic lunar transfer. This sends it out far away from the Earth, where it will then fire thrusters to place itself on a trajectory to be captured by the moon's gravitational influence in mid-December. Danuri will study the moon's environment and resources while also testing necessary technologies to help with crewed missions and other ambitions in South Korea's space future. We moved to 3 days later, August 7th, and a new launch vehicle from the Indian Space Research Organization performed its first flight. This small satellite launch vehicle is appropriately named, designed to compete in the growing small satellite market. Liftoff was successful, carrying an ISRO-developed Earth observation satellite and another educational small satellite. Consisting of 4 stages, the first 3 are solid motors, and they performed as planned. But the 4th, a small liquid upper stage, suffered a data loss malfunction and placed the satellites into an unusable orbit, causing them to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. A rough start, but ISRO will work out the problems. China's leading private spaceflight venture, Galactic Energy, successfully launched their Series 1 vehicle carrying 3 Earth observation satellites on August 9th. So far, the Series 1 is 3 for 3, the only private company in Chinese spaceflight with a 100% success rate. Also on August 9th, Russia launched a Soyuz 2.1B, carrying an Earth observation satellite for the Iranian Space Agency. In addition, 14 small satellites were carried as rideshare payloads, mostly educational and experimental satellites from various universities throughout Russia. Beginning August 10th, we now enter into a month-long time period where one after another, SpaceX and China's space agency, the China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation, start sending up rockets one after the other, after the other, after the other. From China, we get 6 Long March family rockets and 2 Kaijiao-class rockets. Various payloads are lofted by these 2 different kinds, from Earth observation satellites, technology demonstration missions, and military reconnaissance birds. Meanwhile, from SpaceX, we had 7 Falcon 9s over this period, continuing a blistering launch cadence not seen by any current launch provider in existence as they continue to build out their Starlink satellite constellation. We got a big dose of some rumble in the jungle with Ariane Space's Ariane 5 lifting off on September 7th with Eutelsat Connect, a new geosynchronous communication satellite to service Europe and Africa. Eutelsat Connect was built using new techniques developed by the European Space Agency, which are aimed at simplifying and lowering the costs of large satellite manufacturing. Plenty of frustration was to be had at the Cape as the debut of NASA's Space Launch System with the Artemis 1 mission continues to be plagued by technical issues. A leaky hydrogen system has scrubbed several initial launch attempts, pushing the schedule to the right. The current next launch attempt is scheduled for September 27th at 8:37 a.m. Pacific time. But be aware, this is fluid. It could change by the time you've watched this YouTube segment, so be proactive and check on your own. Although not what you want to see during your flight, it was an excellent unintended test of the abort system of Blue Origin's New Shepard suborbital vehicle during a flight that carried no crew. Only scientific payloads were aboard the capsule, RSS H.G. Wells. The exact reason for the New Shepard booster anomaly is not currently known as of the making of this YouTube segment, but after what appeared to be a loss of the BE-3 main engine on the New Shepard booster, RSS H.G. Wells lit its solid abort motor during a regime of flight known as Max Q, when the aerodynamic forces are at their highest. This is often considered the worst possible time to have to abort, but the motor and the capsule worked exactly as designed. RSS H.G. Wells returned under parachute, while the booster was unfortunately destroyed. For our locals, the upcoming months at Vandenberg Space Force Base remain chock full of launches. The final West Coast Delta IV Heavy will be going in just a few days on September 24th. The launch time is currently set for 2:53 p.m. local, but expect that to possibly change. This is a National Reconnaissance Office payload, so it's not unheard of for launch times to change even the day of a launch. Firefly Aerospace, they're going to be trying again with their Firefly Alpha small satellite launch vehicle on its second test flight, which is named To the Black. Several launch attempts were made on September 11th and 12th, but they were scrubbed due to technical and weather issues. The current placeholder date is September 29th, but no launch window for Alpha's second test flight has been released. There will likely be a Starlink launch from SpaceX during October, but at present there's nothing officially on the books. And that is out to launch for September 2022. We'll catch you at All Space Considered, streaming live on October 7th.